Well, a very good afternoon to you, very good morning to you, wherever you're listening to this webinar live or on your favorite podcast and streaming service. My name is Natalie Ashdown from the Open Door Coaching Group. It's a pleasure to welcome you here to our Coaching Café, where we're continuing our conversation around building a coaching culture. And today, you're going to hear the excitement in my voice. I want to introduce you to a very special person, Andrea Hutton from Melbourne City Mission. Welcome to the line, Andrea.
Thank you, Nat. I'm really excited to be here today. I've been really looking forward to this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your time. Andrew has joined us on the line, everyone, to share a very inspirational case study with you. And we're talking about Melbourne City Mission and coaching young people at risk. And the reason why I wanted to introduce this case study to you and to have this conversation with Andrea is because we can do coaching in all types of environments, with all different types of people, with all different types of experience. And I think this case study today, I hope it will inspire you about just the power of coaching and how we can use it. So before I begin, let me acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we meet today, their continuing connection to the land and the waters and the communities of Australia, and to the lands all around the world, because we know you're listening to this around different continents. And so from wherever you're joining us today, we pay our respects to them, to their elders past, present and emerging, and elders from the Indigenous communities from around the world. So our agenda today, we've been talking about the coaching culture framework over the last couple of weeks. One of those things that we need to do is to coach individuals and teams. And we've been talking about best practice as we roll out. And as I mentioned, it's a real pleasure to talk to you today, Andrew, about the case study and talk about the work you do at Melbourne City Mission around coaching. For those of you that are new to the Coaching Cafe, we are all about creating this community, sharing our learned experience and having thought-provoking conversations like we're going to today. And yes, your CCUs are available. If you want to interact with us, please feel free to pop a message into the chat box, or we can pick up your comments and your questions for Andrea as we go along. And I'm rushing through this introduction because I just want to get to the best part of it, which is talking to you, Andrea. So I really want to just pop up this slide, which is straight off Melbourne City Mission's website. And Andrea, you're a team leader at Melbourne City Mission. You're working with young people at risk, some of them with mental health issues, facing homelessness. So I just thought to put this slide up just to say I love the mission, your future, your way. You know, we're here to work with you on your journey to achieve your goals and leading you to have a positive life. But I just thought, would you mind just sharing with us, and I'll take our background slides off, but would you mind just talking with us for a moment? For people who don't know about the work of Melbourne City Mission, could you just give us maybe a short overview of what your role involves?
Absolutely. So Melbourne City Mission is a not-for-profit organisation, or as we now call it, profit for purpose. Now we work with predominantly, we have a number of program areas in Melbourne City Mission, but the portfolio I sit within is our youth, homeless and early intervention portfolio. So I have two program areas that I'm the team leader of. Our Creating Connections team is a homeless case management team. So we work with young people 16 to 24 who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. Now, in that space, the young people we work with present with significant trauma, from childhood trauma. So they've come from backgrounds where they've experienced significant family violence growing up, neglect and abuse. And then what we end up seeing is quite often, because of those experiences, young people unfortunately can end up in the homeless sector. And those young people we then see have not only the impacts of trauma and how that impacts on their own self-worth, their self-belief, their ability to, I guess, really think about future, past, where am I going to stay tonight? What's my future going to look like? The other program I also look after is our Finding Solutions team. Now, that is one of our early intervention teams, and we're working with young people in that space who are 12 to 17 who have had significant child protection involvement. So notifications because of, again, it might be abuse in the home, or they're engaging in significant high-risk behaviours. Again, we might be dealing with trauma, mental health, significant substance misuse issues. So that's a real, quick overview of the space that I work in. I've worked in youth homelessness for over 37 years now. It's an inspirational space, I think I would say. I meet some of the most amazing young people. And when you look at what they've experienced in early childhood and where they are now, it really, every day I front up to work because I'm inspired by these young people. So that's a bit of a quick overview of the space I have worked in for a long, long time, and the teams that I lead within that environment.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I've been longing for quite some time for you to bring that story to us, just to share. But I suppose I feel a deep gratitude for the work that you do, and that you've dedicated your life to looking after young people who really are, in the worst of the worst situations for many of them. So, just taking a moment to acknowledge the work you do,
Yeah.
Andrea, and how you've dedicated, 37 years, and waking up inspired. It inspires me to hear that up front as well.
Yeah.
And I know that you've got a wealth of experience, your knowledge, your education, as well. You recently added the Cert 4 to your tool belt, and Melbourne City Mission coaches have been
Absolutely.
adding their Certificate 4 in workplace and business coaching to their tool belt. So I'm wondering, how do you see coaching fitting into the work that you do? I can hear those great coaching questions already.
Yeah. It's an interesting space because I've always worked from a platform of, I guess, strength base. I've also worked acknowledging that young people they're the experts in their life and their journey. I'm just a platform to support and guide that process. When I was given the opportunity to do the coaching training, I thought, oh, it's a new space, a challenge. But once I actually got into it, went, no, actually, it's just another tool that's reinforcing not only my professional values and approach to working, but also very much my personal beliefs that, truly to get the best out of people, they need to lead that. It needs to be their journey, their goal, and, and accepting that, also choices that people make. I might not necessarily agree with those choices, but at the end of the day, there are those first individual choices. So coaching was challenging. It was, again, it really reinforced the value of giving people the opportunity to draw on their own strengths and their own abilities and their own resilience. And I guess I hear constantly people go, coaching, really? People need to have a level of stability and all of that to be able to really implement a coaching model. I guess the challenge I always say when I hear that is, regardless of what's going on in someone's life, whether it's chaotic and they're transient and they're homeless, they're dealing with significant mental health, substance misuse, everyone, regardless of where they are, have hopes, dreams, and aspirations. Now, in that, to achieve your hopes and dreams and aspirations, you have a goal. So I really challenge that thinking when people go, you can't apply coaching in this setting. Why? Why can't you? They have dreams, they have hopes, they have aspirations. All they need is somebody to sit there with them and go and unpack that, what they might look like. And I know, Nat, you and I have talked about, I talk about things like, if a young person sat in front of me and they had significant mental health and trauma, and substance use and said, "Hey, Andrea, I'd like to be a brain surgeon." Now, the easiest thing, I'm sitting there thinking, really? You want to be a brain surgeon? I'm not going to go, you can't be a brain surgeon. Look at what's going on in your life. It's too chaotic. I'd go, okay, that's great. That's an amazing goal. But how about we take a step back and look at, say, what might be the barriers for you achieving to be a brain surgeon? Now, that might be addressing their mental health. It might be looking at stability in their housing. It might be working on the impacts of some of that trauma. But it doesn't mean that they can't achieve that. And who am I to say you can't do that? That's the messaging they've had all their life. You won't achieve that. You can't achieve that. My role is to go, you know what? That's amazing. But how about I support you to identify what you might need to get there? So that's the approach I like to come from. I apply it to myself. I apply it in my personal life, and it works beautifully in this space. These young people are amazing. They show strength and resilience to overcome such diversity. And yes, again, like all of us, they have dreams and aspirations. And that's where coaching is a beautiful tool to use in that environment.
Yeah, and I feel that, as you said, this is possibly the first time when you are asking those questions that anyone's ever cared about what their
Yeah,
hopes and their dreams and their aspirations actually are, and
yeah.
what their goals are.
And they sit there and they go, "What do you think?" Well, it doesn't matter what I think. What do you think? As I say to him, you are the expert in your life. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what I think you should do. You front it up every day. You tell your story to strangers, because you need support and guidance. You've got far more expertise in your life than I have. And, I am just a part of that, that platform, that vehicle, that opportunity that will guide you through that process. And really, for them to be able to achieve these goals and sustain them, they need to be able to have control and ownership over that. Me telling them what the goal is or doing it all for them, there's no buy-in there, and it becomes more what I feel they should be doing rather than what they want to do. And I think that's what we need to remember. And that's where coaching is an amazing tool.
Yeah, and I think you're talking about young people and homelessness, but everyone on the line is thinking, well, that's exactly what I need to do in my parenting. That's exactly what I need to do in my workplace. That's exactly what I need to do with my team. So we're
Yeah,
all taking the messages and applying it to the environment and the context that we work in, for sure. And you've told me a couple of stories around that goals, aspirations. You were talking to me about a young person whose goal was to get out of housing, like get out of DHS housing. Could you share with us maybe one or two stories about how you've been able to weave those coaching questions into your work and focus on what their goals and aspirations are?
absolutely. So it's a young person that I've worked with for quite some time. She's now a young mum of two small children. She grew up in officer housing, so government housing, experiencing significant family violence in her own childhood. A lot of child protection involvement with her family when she was a child. She then ended up homeless because of those experiences at the age of 16. And unfortunately, became involved with somebody who also became a perpetrator of family violence towards her. She now has two small children, and because of her own childhood experiences and then experiencing violence in her own intimate relationship, this young person then and never was able to complete her education.
Mm.
All through her life, she has heard, "You will never amount to anything. You will never achieve anything." The fact that she survived her childhood and now has two amazing children was testament to that. So one of the goals that she really identified with me quite recently was not wanting to continue rely on government housing and welfare. She wants better for herself and her children. But when I started to really unpack her goal with her and I applied the coaching model, her default is anger, frustration, questioning her own wealth, self worth, her ability to achieve anything. So it became this really, and anything new or unknown to her, that's her default, because that's what she's learned and that's what she's known and that's what the messaging she's been giving. So the way that I approached coaching with her was to use questioning like, talk to me about something you've achieved that you've been really proud of. And she said, they're going, nothing. And I said, really, and she's going, I can't think of anything big that I've done that I've achieved that I'm proud of. I said, well, who said it needs to be big? Why does it need to be a big achievement? Why does it need to be this, amazing thing? And then we really nutted down. And then one of the things that she was really able to identify was her eldest child has now started school. She's been able to work closely with the school around her child's needs, not get angry with school, not fight with the school, to learn how to communicate better around her needs, not feel judged as a young mum. And she was saying to me, I feel proud that I've got to that space. So from there, we then were able to go, okay, you've achieved that. Now, when we think about her end goal, which was to move out of public housing, to maybe look at, opportunities to do that, I really had to acknowledge systemic issues that might impact on her achieving her goal. In Melbourne, we currently have a housing shortage. Private rental is out of the reach of most people who might be in receipt of low incomes. And she was saying, don't know how I can achieve that. So what we did through the coaching model, we were able to identify that as her main goal, but what could be some smaller steps and goals that she could achieve to get there? Now, we ended up in a place where she was saying, maybe I'll do some training. Maybe I can go into the workforce part-time. Maybe I can increase my income. Maybe that will make me more, able to look at things like private rental options. And at the end of all of this, I checked in with her just yesterday and she was going, I'm enrolled to do this course and I'm doing it when the kids are at school and in childcare. So I'm going to do this course and then I'll be able to get some bar work or work at the local RSL when the kids are in school and all of that. And I'm going, amazing. She's actually achieved part of her goal that she came to her on her own. Now, all of this other chaos is still going on around her, but she's managed to do it. And I could just hear it in her voice. She's going, it's great, Andrea, that you helped me do this. And I said, I reminded her, I didn't help her do this. All I did was ask her the right questions so she could start formulating some of this thinking herself, get her to put some realistic sort of strategies around how she'd achieve that. And that's do the training when the kids are at school or in daycare, part-time. We identified what resources she might need that would help that, and they're practical things like access to a laptop, whatever that might be. I had my jobs to do that would assist her jobs. But when I spoke to her yesterday, she was so upbeat and she's going, I'm getting somewhere, little baby steps. And I said to her, this is amazing. You've done this. This was your goal and you're achieving this. And I had to remind her, I didn't do this for her. All I did was give her an opportunity and she kept going all through the coaching model. Do you think that's the right thing to say? And I'm going, my role as a coach is not to tell you whether it's the right or the wrong thing to do. What do you think? What else might you need to consider? So, and she's still, as I said, dealing with a lot of other things that are going on, but she's making baby steps towards this amazing goal that I have no doubt she will achieve. So
yeah. And everyone's going to want to check in and hear the update for sure. Yeah, it's such a great story, because people go, oh, coaching won't work in my environment, or coaching won't work with this manager, or coaching won't work with that. But it actually does if you you take that approach. You know, you're not trying to tell them what to do. You're trying to
No.
build that accountability, the resourcefulness,
And I
break
really,
down the goals. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I think the really important thing when you start to engage in a coaching model is know your subject. You really need to know your subject. And if you don't, then you're going to go in there with some preconceived ideas about whether or not you think this is going to be achievable with them. But and it's also around the questioning that the questions that you use to actually bring out the best in an individual, and using, as I said, that little question that I really focused on her with was, what is something you have achieved that you're proud of? And I
Yeah.
kept going back to that to move her on
Mm.
from that I'm not good at anything. I'm never going to achieve anything. And once she could actually name something, it really shifted the focus. And then we
Yeah.
were able to start looking at it. So the questioning you use, knowing your subject, how best to approach the coaching um, is essential before you engage in that. And not go in here with any preconceived ideas. And it is not my role as a coach to sit there and think, this is never gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Fair.
and the other side is that we work with incredibly complex young people. But even we do care plans with all our young people, and big part of that is around goal setting. And again, it's their goals. And
Mm.
a goal might be, oh, I need to sort out my ID, identification. And you go, okay. Now, most of us take that stuff for granted. We've got it. I've got a driver's license, birth certificate, and all of that.
Mm.
It's a big challenge for these young people to, how do I get this? How do I deal with these systems in order to get that? So it could be little things like that. Or they might be ready to start engaging around services to support their mental health. What would that look like for them? What do they need to support that? Again, I can just go, great, you want to deal with your mental health? I'll just make a referral. Done.
Yeah. Sign
But
you off. Yeah.
yeah, but what
Mm.
sort of support is going to work for you? And it's like, we know in that space, I can sit there and go, you need this. But if they're not ready and it's not the goal that they're looking for or the choice they're ready to make, then it's not going to work. But we can continue to have the conversations to unpack what that might look like for them. What is going to be the best model that's going to suit them? And that is the role again that you can play through coaching. And these young people's got amazing strengths. They just don't
Yeah.
realize it because no one's ever sat down and gone, you know what? The fact that you front up every day and show resilience and bounce
Mm.
back, that's an amazing platform to start actually supporting people through models like a strength-based approach, trauma-informed, coaching, whatever it might be. So anyone that says no, you cannot use coaching, and if there's a level of chaos and all of that, I really challenge you to think about this. And as I said earlier, it doesn't matter what's going on. We have dreams, hopes, and aspirations. And to achieve that is a goal attached. So it's about having someone giving you that opportunity to unpack that for yourself and what that might look like. And to ensure that they're realistic in that, because what we see constantly in the space I work in is that young people are set up. And I see it even within my own organisation. They go, all right, I'm going to get the young person into this because they mentioned they might be interested in that. And then I go, have you
Mhm.
thought about barriers? Have you talked to the young person about the barriers that might need to if we're looking, say, education space, for example, young person's gone, I'd like to be a mechanic. And, their routines are out of whack, their drug use is out of control, mental health's not stable, they're moving around from different crisis housing options. And a worker will just put in an application to get enrolled in a course, get funding, And then I come back and go, have you talked to the young person about identifying potential barriers for that? And they go, oh, yeah, but they want to do it. And I go, but if you
Mm.
don't unpack that piece with them, what you're going to do is set them up to fail because they haven't thought about those other things that might impact on that end goal that they've got. So let's not be part of the problem. Let's not set them up to fail because these kids are so used to failing because they haven't had people go, great, fabulous, but let's look at the steps that we need to support you to take that. So I really push back on workers that go, and I get they're coming from a good place, and I get that they really want, you know, to fix and help and all of that. No, it's not our role to fix things. It's not our role to be doing everything. As I say to young people, I'm not your personal assistant. If you don't want to do this or you don't want to change, doesn't have any impact on my life. Does it concern me? Absolutely, but it doesn't have any impact on my life. You need to do this because you want to do it, not because I think you should be doing it. And I really encourage people to really look at the barriers and the steps to get there. Young people are interesting because they love things to happen immediately. And I go, great. Yep, great idea. You've just come up with this. I want to do this. Make it happen now. Okay, I get it. But to sustain it, to sustain your goal and a great outcome for you, let's think about the steps to get there. Coaching leads into that beautifully.
I love everything you say, Andrea. I'm just going to take the opportunity. I can tell you to listen back to everything you say. I'll listen to this recording more than once. There's no doubt about it. And again, everything that you say is so applicable to to different environments and scenarios that we actually find ourselves in as well. And I think one of the things that resonates most with me is when you talk about choice. You know, the coaching that you're doing is enabling and opening up choice, but it's the young person's choices that you are
Absolutely.
really empowering, because it would be so easy to start being one of those adults that tell them what to do.
Yeah.
But that choice, yeah.
And the other thing is I do have young people going, I'm going to go off and do this. And I sit there going, and I go, okay, have you thought about the impacts of that choice you're about to make or whatever? And they go,
Mm.
oh, yeah, I got this, Andrew. And I go, okay. And I sit there and I go, I know this is going to go so badly. But again, their choice, I'll support it. Now, when they come back to me and they go, oh my God, that just blew up in my face. You knew that was going to happen, didn't you? And I go, oh, I might have had an inkling that might not have gone quite how you'd planned. But as I said, I say to him, it's a learning opportunity because then they'll come back to me and go, well, this happened and this happened and then this happened. And I go, okay, what could you learn from that? So bad choice is an opportunity to learn as far as I'm concerned. And I go, okay, you let's unpack what happened. Let's unpack what you hoped would happen. And now let's look at how we can support you to think about doing this differently to actually achieve the outcome that you hoped in the first place. Young people can be very stubborn. And
Mm.
as I say, don't sit there as a worker and go, oh, don't do that because this will happen and this will happen and this will happen. They're just going to go, what do you know? And I go, I'll probably know a little bit. I've probably seen this happen a few times.
Yeah.
But it is important as part of their journey that we respect their choices, even if we think, oh, this might not be the best choice you could make. All you can do when they come back for it is not judge that choice, is use that as an opportunity to go, and again, this is where coaching can really come in and go, okay, it's okay, didn't quite turn out how you went. What went wrong? What hadn't you thought about? And what could you think about differently to achieve the outcome that you hope for in the first place? And again, coaching is beautiful in that space. And they go, oh, okay, all right. So you're not just going to sit here and go, oh, that was dumb. And as I say
Mhm.
to him, no, there's no such, I've never met a dumb person in my life. I've met plenty of people done dumb things, but I've never met a dumb person in my life. And I go, but we all make choices. And from that, if things don't go right, it's an opportunity for us to then go, all right, name what went wrong. What was the barrier? How are you going to overcome that? What would you think about next? And again, this is an amazing space that coaching can offer you in that. And I remember when I was doing the training with you, and I went, I started overthinking things in the coaching. I went,
Yeah.
hang on a minute. This is very naturally with me because I'm not about doing everything for
Yeah.
people. Um, and once I reminded myself, I've done this quite naturally for a long, long time. It is just another opportunity to really, really encourage and provide a space for people to bring out the best in themselves. So, yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge you, Andrew. I admire you so much. And there's so many things to say about, maintaining that space where we're not being judgmental,
Mm,
I know personally, I see some choices being made around the family home, and I go, that's a really bad decision, and I
mm,
try to take out those words bad and really focus on what you say. And I think what I love about you is you are actually holding us coaches to account as well. Like, are you really walking your talk as a coach if you're sitting there going, well, that was a bad decision? You're not. You're allowing being a parent or being a manager or being whatever role I am to take over, when truly what you're saying is to sit in that space and do the coaching.
mm.
You're showing us how it works with young people in crisis. It's pretty easy in every other environment when you think about it.
Yeah. And I think I really encourage people sometimes when you coach, and I also use coaching with my staff. Um, and it's interesting too because they work in an environment that can be very frustrating. We
Mm,
don't have enough resources to support the needs of homeless young people. You know, we've got systems that we're fighting against constantly. So I'm dealing with staff that get frustrated and jaded and want amazing outcomes for the young people. And where I apply it in that space is really encouraging them to think about what they have control over and what they
yeah.
don't. And let's not
Mm,
get bogged down in what we don't have control over. That's some of that is bigger than us. And if we're going to get stuck in that space, then what you see is jaded, negative, burnt out workers. But once I start to get them to really think about, allowing that space to vent that frustration, and I'm a big one on you've got an opportunity now through your supervision just to vent, get it
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah,
And then we go, how now are we going to manage that? So you can still get a level of satisfaction, not burn yourself out, and acknowledge that some of those systems are bigger and systemic problems are bigger than us. And then there's not a lot, we play a big part on advocacy and all of that in the higher level of the organization, and we'll feed into that. But on the day-to-day work you do with your young people, if they're seeing you get bogged down and frustrated and all of that, then that's what they're gonna feed off. They'll get frustrated, bogged down. They've already got that going on in their own lives. They're already sort of challenging against, you know, perceptions around, I'm not going to be able to achieve and all of that. What they don't need is a jaded, frustrated worker. So
mm.
I really, when I coach with staff, when they get, they talk about, well, this is my goal for this young person, but this is going on and this is going on and this won't happen. And I go, okay, you're identifying all these barriers. What barriers do you think that you can overcome? And what barriers do you need to acknowledge that are outside of your control? And how are we going to manage that? So even in that space, and look, and I have led staff that have been negative and, then I sit there and go, oh my God, they're harder work than the young people that I'm working with. And they're not even homeless. So, and sometimes we get to
Yeah.
a point through coaching, they really then go, well, maybe this is not the right sector for me. And I go, okay, that's amazing. You've come to that because you can't park the frustration, you can't park all of
Mm.
that. But you've now worked out yourself through our conversations and through looking at what it is that is creating your frustration and your inability to move on from that. You've now come back to me and gone, maybe this is not the area I need to be in. So then, not only as your team leader, but as your coach, how can we support you to then look at what is going to be a better opportunity and a better goal for you to achieve what you need to in your professional career? So again, even in that space, I think it's too easy to get stuck in that allowing people to sit in the I have no control. So I think, we really need to go. And again, the barriers is the big piece. If we can get people to identify those barriers and work out how we can support them to support their thinking and how they're going to change that, we've got an opportunity to move through that process. So, and the goal might be big, but we might need to achieve little tiny baby goals in between. And that's a great process as well, because we all have big goals. Even I set amazing big goals for myself, and then I go, oh, wow, I was really ambitious that day. Now I'm setting myself up to fail. And I do. I check myself in my own self-coaching and go, let's take it back a few steps, Andrea, and what do we need to do to get there? So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's wonderful, and we can continue to talk, and I suppose the question of so many questions I have, but maybe we could maybe finish up because we could talk for ages, Andrea. I know, but what do you think is your vision for for coaching and young people and workplaces?
I think my vision is, and I'm very fortunate, I work with an organisation that is very committed to providing people with choice, opportunities, and as to say, it's your life, your way.
Excuse me. Yes.
And my vision is, I guess, that we, through coaching, or whether it be, as I say, your strength-based, client-centered, whatever it might be, that we get to a space within my working environment that every worker is sitting there going, okay, how can I support our client group around their own self-belief, self-worth, to be able to dream and have goals and opportunity, and what is my role in supporting that? And it become a natural part of how we do business. So that when we're working with these young people, that we're not falling into the trap of the doing or the fixing, that we're actually going, we want sustainable, amazing outcomes for these young people. And the way we're going to do that, if they own the goal, they drive the goal, they're realistic about the goal, and all our workforce is the vehicle that just asks the right questions that will give them the opportunity to think about how they're going to achieve that. So it becomes a natural part of our best practice. And as I say, look, and I even fall into it myself. Sometimes I think, God, it's just going to be easier if I do it for them and quicker, because I'm a very action person. But at the end of the day, if I do it, one, they won't learn. Two, again, it's not really, they've had the buy-in because, and young people will become dependent if you allow it. I want them to be independent. I want them to have self-worth. I want them to have ownership. The way they're going to do that is to have a workforce that coaches them through that process, not doing it for them or fixing it. I'm happy to fix the tap, but I'm not going to fix someone's life. It's their life, and it does have to be their way. And my role is to support their way to do that. So that's what I'd hope through coaching. And more of our staff have been trained in coaching, not just, it was specifically one program area, but we're now opening up to more and more of our case managers. And as I say, it's another tool that's supporting models and frameworks that we actually work with our young people. And I think having young people just, have that ownership. And that's what I'm hoping that we can implement, as we have done a trauma-informed approach across our whole organisation, a coaching framework across our organisation also. Because I want young people to exit our systems and not keep coming back.
Yeah.
And as I say to young people, when we close our support, I say to them, I'm saying this to you in the nicest possible way. It has been an honour. It has been humbling, but I hope I never see you again. And I say that because that means we've supported you to exit out homelessness, not because I'm sick of looking at you. I just hope that we don't need to see you again, because you've got to a good place where you're not reliant on our services. Coaching will assist that.
Andrea, I'm just I'm humbled and we're honoured by everything you've shared with us and the work we do. Rather than saying I hope we never see you again, though, I want to say that I hope we do see you again, because we have so much to learn from you, and I hope that everyone listening can think about the very many different environments and people that we're working with, and how we can apply your wisdom and your knowledge. And very, very humbled that you've taken the time to share your approach and who you really are, and the difference you're making. So, on behalf of everyone, the alumni, thank you very much. I was very grateful for everything you've shared with us.
Great. Thank you, Nat. And as I say, again, I thank you for the opportunity. And for those who have tuned in today, I hope, talking about working in that very crisis, chaotic space where we're dealing with a lot of trauma, a lot of barriers, that you rethink how we can apply coaching. Yes, it's a lot easier and nicer and cleaner when people have got a level of stability and clear visions and goals and the resources they need to achieve the goals. But where coaching, and I see it most effective, is in the space I work in, where there is a lack of self-worth and all of that sort of stuff. So I hope today that you can go away and go, you really could apply this anywhere. And it's not a big stretch. And as I said before, it doesn't matter what's going on in a person's life. We have dreams, we have aspirations, and with that is a goal. So yeah, so I hope people can take that away from this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's a lovely way to finish, and to remind us all, because that's our, that is our purpose. It's to bring out the strengths in others. It's to help them identify their dreams, aspirations, and goals, and as you say, enable them to work towards that, regardless of their environment or the situation they came from, and the like. So, yeah, lovely way to finish as well. Well, thank you once again. For those of you that are waiting because you want your CCE, we will send that to you. So no trouble at all. I'd just like to finish by thanking you once again, Andrea, and thank you for the difference you're making to young people and to the world in general.
Great. Thank you, Nat. Thank you for everybody tuning in today, and good luck. I wish you well in your coaching. I think you're gonna, it's an amazing tool, and it's a great opportunity to really rethink how we not only support staff, but maybe who we're working with. And what we want is resilient communities, and coaching is a great opportunity to do that. So thanks, Nat. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, thank you. And of course, those people that know about Leader as Coach and our certificate for on workplace and business coaching, you can hit up our website at www.opendoorcoaching.com.au. But I don't even want to talk about that because I just want to sit in this space that you shared with us, Andrea. So thank you. And as I said, I'll definitely be listening to the recording and writing down all the questions that you ask, and thinking about my approach to coaching in different situations and environments. So yeah, thank you once again.
Great.